And let's shift our focus to our next speaker. Articulate, fearless, and never one to shy away from a tough debate, our next speaker has carved a distinct space in India's political landscape. A strong voice on women's rights and a sharp commentator on national issues, she brings both conviction and clarity to every conversation. Her politics isn't about picking the sides. It's about picking issues, and that's the reason why you often see her not just questioning the government, but also taking a slightly different position from the opposition when it comes to national issues. What I personally like about our next speaker is how she handles the trolls online. Join me in welcoming Priyanka Chaturvedi, former Rajya Sabha MP and leader Shiv Sena, the UBT faction. She will be in conversation with Times Now's managing editor, Zaka Jacob. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Ms. Priyanka Chaturvedi, for joining us here on the Times Now Nari Shakti Conclave. First things first, do you miss being in Parliament when such a momentous debate is happening? We don't know whether the bill will pass or not, but do you feel like, your voice could have been heard?
No, my voice isn't silenced just because I'm not inside the Parliament. I continue to speak. And having said that, I'm glad I was part of a reservation that we cleared, a historic reservation that we cleared, which made space for women. I do not want to be part of a system which has been created to link it to something which will deny women that reservation. So I'm glad in a way that I'm speaking outside the Parliament and getting my voice heard rather than being inside and having to make choices which were actually not in alignment with what I think and how I think.
So tell me, this latest Gazette notification which the government has put out past midnight yesterday, which operationalizes the law which was passed when you were a member of Parliament, the government is saying that, look, let's follow the process. This is the original option, option A. Let's have the delimitation, let's have the census, let's have the delimitation, and then we'll implement 33% reservations.
So exactly what the bill says, and clearly says census and delimitation. It doesn't speak about adding seats inside the Parliament. That is what is happening. And then you had linked it to the next census after the bill is passed, which is the 2026 census. It should have started earlier, 2024. It's long overdue since 2021. So now they're saying, no, we won't be able to complete the process. So let's go back to 2011. Now, even the 2011 is 15 years ago. Yeah. So we need to have figures, so that is what is the problem. And the second problem would definitely be, Zaka, you could have taken the opposition along, you could have spoken about what is in your mind, how you're planning to implement it. Even now, the bill as it comes, it doesn't speak about proportional representation, which Amit Shah ji reassured on the floor of the House. But similarly, when Telangana and Andhra Pradesh were being carved out, they were both committed a special status. Was it implemented? No. So what is written is what is implementable, and that is what is being opposed.
I'll come to that in 1 second, but I want to speak about, this notification from last night and the other option which the government, as you said, the Home Minister mentioned in Parliament yesterday. So the government is basically saying, look, we can implement 1/3 reservation for women on 543, which means 180 male MPs will lose their seats, or we're giving you option B, we will raise the size of the Lok Sabha to 850 so that nobody loses out, and we will continue implementing women's reservation. Why is option B not a better one?
No, option B isn't a better one simply because I'll give you my state's example. If I look at the 2011 census, we would in the new parliament have 79 seats, 79. But if I look at the proportional representation, which is being promised by words, not in the bill, we get to 72. So we are losing out on 7 seats. Similarly, many other states. But what is it doing? It's now trying to bring a proportionate representation which is not promised. I would say, why don't you implement, even when we were talking in 2023, when the 73rd and 74th Amendment was cleared, it was implementable immediately and implementable on the existing number of seats. Why are you trying to change that equation?
No, but that bill particularly said it will happen after a census, after a delimitation, and then 1/3 reservation will be implemented.
Delimitation has happened, for example, in Assam, a delimitation happened. But it did not add seats, right, at the table.
Yes.
It just did a redrawing of all the boundaries. Similarly, delimitation exercise will happen, but in terms of delimitation and census, adding seats, in the parliament would become problematic for the southern states because they have consistently reduced their population.
So, this is what the Home Minister also claimed yesterday in Parliament. He gave the examples of all 5 southern states. Karnataka currently has 28 seats. It goes up to 42 as weightage of the total Lok Sabha. Currently, it's 5.15. It goes to 5.14. Tamil Nadu, which is the state where I've seen the most opposition to this. 39 seats currently, their weightage is 7.18. It goes up to 59 seats at weightage of 7.23. So this argument that the southern states lose out is not holding up.
No, again, they are now being very economical with the truth. They are now looking at, okay, these are the states that would see a representation increase or percentage increase. But what about the northeastern states? What about the state of Maharashtra? So that is something, so give us a map, what he's read out selectively given to the media yesterday, and it was floating around everywhere. Show all the states, how will it impact every single state? I think what you can do is that you say that whatever percentage of you had in terms of the weightage that you had, in terms of percentage value, we will continue with that.
No, but when they do delimitation, that will reduce. As you said, it will reduce for the southern states, it may reduce for Maharashtra because these states have done well on population. So to circumvent that, the Home Minister's proposal, the government's proposal is, let's increase the size of the pie.
Let me be very clear. You don't need to circumvent anything to bring in women's reservation. Be very clear about it. Women were promised that they would have 33% representation in the parliament, a long-holding commitment that we have made to the women. Instead of implementing it in 24, we are implementing it in 29. That has to be done as is. Why are we going on continuously linking it? We can go and change the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, bring an amendment and say we are delinking it from the census and delimitation. Have the women out there in the parliament. These are excuses to not have women in the parliament.
So, for example, if they were to do the delimitation, the census and the delimitation, if a state like Maharashtra loses out, as you said, if it loses number of seats, isn't that detrimental also to the state? In the case of your state, it is detrimental if it loses seats.
Now, again, we're talking from deduction of seats. I'm talking about existing number of seats. If the intention is to bring women and, shatter those glass ceilings, do it now. Do it as is. Get us the 33%. I'm sorry if men lose out. I'm so sorry, sir. For last 7 decades, you all have been winning. You all have been championing. You all have been ensuring that women have been out of the system. Please lose out and please make way for the women.
So you said the women losing out is, the men losing out is not a concern. So 180 male MPs, many of them who are your former colleagues, stand to lose their seats if women's reservation is implemented on 543.
Too bad.
That's what you would say to them.
I mean, too bad. You have been winning all along. You have been in the parliament. Make way for the women. That's all I'm saying. I have all empathy, sympathy, everything for men, and men for women, women for men is absolutely the way it should be. But the representation of women, 50% of the population, highest voter turnout is that of women. We are fulfilling all our responsibilities as committed citizens of this country. Then why are you denying us that voice on the power tables that matter?
So you said this for male members of parliament. Let me ask about your party, right? You have 9 Lok Sabha MPs and 20 MLAs, all of whom are men. What would you say to them?
I agree with you, absolutely agree with you. We did field a lot of women candidates. Unfortunately, they lost. But that is the idea, right? Give them the opportunity to be able to contest. Winning and losing is secondary. So every woman candidate offered a seat does not necessarily convert into victories, right? So this is something that we will continue to experiment with. And yes, every regional party, every national party is facing this challenge. I can give you an example. 2023, we are all committed. We are putting out here the reservation, yes, women reservation, women reservation. We have the 2024 election. Neither of the national parties gave anywhere close to 33%. The total candidates that were given were around 12%. The regional parties gave around 15% in the Lok Sabha elections. Now look at all the state elections that happened after that. Maximum 10 to 9% is what we see happening. So it's a
No, but that includes your party as well. It's not just
all the political
parties.
I am speaking above my party.
Sure.
Politics, right?
Sure.
I'm speaking above my politics because for me, gender equity stands above our politics and above our biases. And that is why I continue to say that please implement it as is and now.
So why can't there be a law passed in Parliament saying that every political party has to give 33% tickets to its candidates, to women?
That's a brilliant idea, and that is something that was proposed by my party founder, Shri Balasaheb Thackeray ji, where he said, give all the registered political parties this mandate that they have to compulsorily give 33% reservation for women, and they will decide which constituencies they run or they contest from. Why are you reducing women fighting women? When you do a 33% reservation, you're making it an all-women constituency. All the candidates that would be representing their political parties would be women. So women are fighting women, but women can't fight men. That's a
No, which is where most political parties, including the national parties, have come up with this argument about winnability. That women, compared to men, don't win.
33%, if it was done to how my leader was saying, that you give a 33% mandate to the political parties, let them decide where they contest from, how they contest, in what format they contest, and if they don't follow that 33%, then deregister the party. I'm totally in favor of this. Do it. Many people are making it about quota within quota. I have another thing to say here. You do a 100% reservation in your party constitution for the quota that you're believing in. If you think women in minority, SC, ST, OBC will not be represented, there should be a constitutional amendment which gives them that guarantee. Guarantee it in your party constitution. Give them a 100% reservation.
No, for example, yesterday Akhilesh Yadav was speaking in Parliament and he said this 33% reservation for women should have OBC, quota for OBC women as well as for Muslim women, even though the Constitution does not allow it.
First, a woman needs to enter that door. A woman needs to enter the door. The caste and the nationality, the caste and the religion become secondary. First is make that space for the women. And again, I tell you, a political party, if it's concerned about OBC representation, SC, ST, and I totally understand that, I value where that's coming from. Implement it in your party constitution, that the 250 seats, if there's an addition, or within the 545 seats, the 180 seats that we're talking about, in the 180 seats that are going to the women, as my political party, I will give it to only SC, ST and minority women. Do it. Who's stopping you?
No. So the argument put forth by Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Akhilesh Yadav, etc. is the government does not want to go by the original plan because they have asked for caste census and the government is committed to caste census. They don't want to give tickets to OBC women. They're not including OBC women quota as per the women 33% women reservation.
I may differ here from what is being said. And I speak from the space of gender equity more than politics behind it. My point is just this. Quota within quota does not necessarily need to be a constitutional mandate. Let a party, political party for that matter, whether it's the Congress party or the Bharatiya Janata Party, say, okay, the 180 seats are reserved for women. We have decided 180 women that we select would be from so-and-so caste combination, religious combination, whatever combination they choose. Do it.
No, but are you in favor or not in favor of having 1/3 of the 33% reservation for women reserved for OBCs? Similarly, 10% for Muslim women within that 33%.
It's a very controversial thing, but I will say this, that first, any woman from whichever part of the country needs to be represented inside the parliament. Her caste identity, religious identity is irrespective. It first make space for the women inside the chambers of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, assemblies. Women need to be represented. That is what my view is. The rest can happen as we see, once let it be implemented, then we can see if women are losing out, some sections are losing out, then we can definitely look at it, right?
So today when it's eventually put to vote at 4 o'clock and the government doesn't have the numbers, the 2/3 majority to pass the constitutional amendments and the bill fails, then the government will turn around and say it's the opposition that's standing in the way of women's reservation.
So it will become the opposition's responsibility to be able to go and speak what were the reasons behind it. And I think a lot of the women in the country have realized this. For example, 2023, a lot of women had this question in their mind, why didn't you immediately implement it? Why are you waiting for 2029? And if Bharatiya Janata Party felt they'll get some political benefit out of it, do remember that they were kept out of simple majority in the 2024 election. So women are watching, women are seeing what will happen. And women will only be convinced once this is implemented. If it's not being implemented, they will make their choices.
No, but the government again can turn around and say the process is getting delayed because you didn't take the option.
It's not delayed. I again repeat, there's no process delay that is happening. All you have to say, here are the 545 seats. If this part is controversial, we will delink it from that. And we will ensure that out of the 545, 180 seats are given to
But again, there's no guarantee that the census and the delimitation will happen before 2029. Government can turn around and say, we didn't have the time.
I'm saying just de-link it from the process. If you were keen on having women in the parliament, then please, Bharatiya Janata Party should come forward and say, okay, look, they are not happy with this delimitation census linkage. We are removing it, and we have whatever exists, 545 seats, we will do it.
So again, for that, the government needs to bring back an amendment to the law that was passed in 2023.
Yeah, and it's a matter of time. All you have to do is the upcoming monsoon session. In the monsoon session, the very first day, you can take this amendment and you'll have wholehearted support from all across the parties saying that, yes, do it.
So what about the argument that that was frozen by the 1971 census? And in 1971, we had Bansiri Swaraj here earlier in the morning. She said 1971, India's population was 50 crore. Today, we're at 140 crore. Again, isn't it unfair to women that we are depending on a 1971 census to delimit constituencies that were frozen in 1971?
It's unfair to the men too.
That
Why
it
is it
is.
just about women? Please, let's be very clear. Yes, it's unfair, but there were reasons. There's disproportionate population control. And the reason why Indira Gandhi ji's government froze it and why Vajpayee ji's government froze it is because that disproportionality did not match. We are getting there. So all the argument is that this delimitation exercise or parliamentary allocation should happen once there's a proportionality across the country. So why should southern states or my state or other states be penalized for doing an effective job? So it is an unfortunate reality.
But what if I flip the argument? What about states like UP and Bihar? They can turn around and say their one MP is representing maybe 5 times more than what an MP from Tamil Nadu is or Kerala is.
Yeah, even in Maharashtra, every single constituency has over 15 lakh people to look after. 6 assemblies which are massively, have a lot of people residing there. So that is a challenge. That is a challenge the country is dealing with. So it takes away the value of that one vote, one person. It does happen. But till we don't see a proportionality in terms of population control and a balancing of that, that is going to be difficult. But again, I just say this, that with that 543 seats also, we can do this implementation, just de-link it from this argument of, oh, look, 1971, 2021, 2026.
But the original law, when you were a member of parliament which got passed, put a 15-year cap for this women's reservation from the date of implementation of this thing. So the government can also turn around and say that in 2023 it passed. For 3 years, the opposition has been putting obstacles in it.
The cap is not on 15 years. The cap is on once the constituencies are decided, which are the women constituencies. Those will continue to be women constituencies for 3 terms.
For 3 elections.
For 3 election cycle, and then the unfreeze happens, right?
So
then
in 3 election cycles, you believe the proportionality issue will be settled, the population?
No. What is happening is the 15-year term is just it doesn't have to do anything with census, by the way. 543 seats, 15-year term, as in 180 seats are frozen for 3 election cycle for women. Okay.
No, but in that 15-year term, you believe that this population disparity between South and North can be addressed?
I'm very certain Uttar Pradesh is heading towards that. Bihar will head towards that. And maybe state needs to focus, tell the central government can tell them that maybe you should focus on this. Now, if we are seeing, we keep hearing that UP ki kaya kalp kar diya hai Yogi Adityanath ji ne, to Yogi Adityanath ji puri mehnat lagakar, puri koshish kar, achieve goals.
So politically, don't you think the opposition has missed a trick? Yesterday you heard the Prime Minister speaking in Parliament. He said, I'm giving you a blank check. I'll take out newspaper ads with any of your pictures that you want. You take the full credit. You don't give me any credit. And yet the opposition is coming across as being the impediment to implementing Nari Shakti.
Not at all. In 2023, the entire opposition and the government together passed a historic bill which was to be implemented in 2029. Now what is happening is between important state elections, you've called a 3-day session, and within the 3-day session, you want a constitutional bill which will change how the parliament works, and even reduce the weightage of Rajya Sabha in terms of representation, in terms of decision making. It doesn't work like that, so there's no impediment. We are saying, even now, I continue to say that opposition parties are saying, make it implementable as of now with the number of seats available. Don't use this as an excuse to deny women their reservation.
No, but for example, we have the Tamil Nadu elections, the Bengal elections. After today, after the bill fails to pass, if it fails to pass, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister will all hit the campaign trail and say that it's Mamata Banerjee and Mr. Stalin and others who stood in the way of women's reservation. Whereas we were all for it.
Let's not forget, last night, the president has made this
Notification, yeah.
yes, the notification has come. It is in force. And the government is duty-bound to implement it, either through this constitutional bill amendment that's happening, or on the basis of existing 543 seats. It's as simple as that. So they can go about town saying something, what they want to, but since the president has given her nod and the notification has happened, it is in force. It is the responsibility of the government to implement the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam as it exists.
And the government doesn't need 2/3 for this because this is already passed. This is an act that's already been passed.
Yes.
So if they want to delimit, they can do it by just simple majority.
Delimitation will happen. They will redraw the existing boundaries.
Yes.
Okay, or if they do it as per census, then it is going to be a controversy within the BJP. It's actually a situation where it's a catch-22 situation.
Why is it a controversy for the BJP?
No, it will, because will TDP agree to the census-linked delimitation?
No, but that's part of your original bill, census-linked delimitation.
But not adding seats in the parliament, right?
Yeah, not adding seats in the parliament, yes.
So that is going to be, that is again what we said even then in 2023. And now by the virtue of it coming into force, I see it like something that it has to be implemented.
No, but why would the TDP have a problem with it?
Because
they're supporting the government.
No, they're supporting the government in terms of proportionality of states.
No, they supported even the original bill.
No. Please understand.
The 2023 bill.
No, the original bill is, again I will repeat, census happens on the basis of census and the population. Delimitation happens. In this proposal, what TDP is convinced about, but is not written clearly,
in the bill,
is about census can happen, but the proportionality of seats would happen on the 50% proportional increase of seats. So this is what they're supporting. But the minute it's linked to the census of 2026, you are going to see a loss of seats in all the southern states, which will lead to a problem for all the allies that BJP has in the southern states.
No, but that also includes opposition ruled southern states.
Everyone will have a problem with that. There will be a pushback. That is what I'm trying to tell you, that they were trying to delink it from the census of 2026 and say, okay, we are bringing proportionality. That's what we are proposing, not written in this, but we are bringing in proportionality.
So isn't that better for the southern states? The second option that the government is proposing, isn't that better for the southern states? They're not losing their weightage.
They are losing their weightage. He has, again, like I said, selectively given you 3 or 4 states. Look at the Northeast, look at in terms of proportion. It is going to be a problem.
No, the maximum opposition has come from the southern states, particularly from Tamil Nadu.
It will.
And he has said on the floor of the parliament, the Home Minister, that none of the southern states will lose out their weightage.
Okay,
and you are saying if they go by...
I will repeat. The bill that was passed was that after the census happens, the delimitation will happen on the basis of the 2026 census. Right? Now you're saying that, yes, we will link it to the 2011 census and we will add 50% proportionality.
Seats.
Even the 2011 is not something they promised. They said on a census, no particular date they've given, which decadal that they would look at.
The most recent census, I think, is the phrase that they've used.
Assuming 2011, which is again 15-year-old, and we are bringing it proportionality. That is where the challenge exists in terms of adding seats to the parliament. I would have thought that the government would call everybody together, explain what they have in mind, be very clear in their bill, written word, what they're assuring to the people, then probably there could be a conversation. Right now, the conversation is in a logjam, and there is the opposition that you see from everywhere, is because it's not explicitly mentioned. And all what the opposition was asking for is call an all-party meeting, hear everyone's views, and then move forward. What is the rush even?
By the way, we spoke to a minister a couple of days back. It was an off-record conversation, so I can't name the minister. And he said every political party was consulted, except one. I don't want to name that political party, but including your party, every party was consulted.
Informal conversations. Look, when you're bringing something which is going to impact you so badly, or impact you in a different way, I wouldn't call it badly, it was going to impact the functioning of how the parliament functions, then you don't do informal conversations. You don't write a WhatsApp and say, look, can we meet for coffee and have a coffee? This is not about coffee drinking. This is about decision making that will change the political map of the country.
Okay. So finally, we've got a couple of minutes left. Today at 4 o'clock, what is your political prediction? Does the bill pass? Does the bill not pass? And how does it play out in either scenario, if it passes and if it doesn't pass?
No, like Prime Minister Modi tried to say that even if it passes, everyone gets the credit for it. If it fails, then he gets the credit for it, which he goes to town and he says, look, they've defeated the bill.
But explain this to me politically. Why would the Prime Minister bring a bill which he thinks will not have the numbers to pass? How is that a political credit to him?
Credit as in the BJP gets to play this that look, these are the anti-reservation people, anti-women reservation people. So this is something which my gut tells me that they will probably withdraw the bill.
Withdraw the bill. And if they withdraw the bill, then automatically the 2023 Act, which is relevant and which was notified yesterday, stays, which means they are mandated to then do census, delimitation, and implement women's reservation. Whether or not it happens before 2029, we don't know, because that bill does not put a time limit.
So that women of the country would then judge.
The women of the country will then judge.
If the Prime Minister, as in his speech yesterday said, he's committed to the idea of having reservation for women, then he's well within his rights to choose by making that amendment in the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam to delink it from census and delimitation and say I will implement it as is on the 545.
But as it stands today, if the government come the 2029 election says we were not able to complete the census and complete the delimitation process, therefore there's no women's reservation for the 2029 elections, and the opposition is responsible for it.
No. Option A is, this is what they will try to do. Option B, the entire opposition will stand in solidarity on the first day of the monsoon session, the minute you delink the census and delimitation from the reservation.
Okay.
I'd rather choose option B, right? Prime Minister should choose option B.
Can we have a round of applause for Priyanka Chaturvedi? Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us at the Times Now Nari Shakti Conclave.